first sensation that you feel is warmth in an endless void of absolute nothingness. There is no sense of self, there is no sense of physicality, there's just warmth. And for a brief moment, you think you can hear humming, a soft baritone carried like a wave through this emptiness, and then nothing. You don't know when or how long it has been since you felt that warmth, but it has returned. And with it, a light, bright, like the sun shining above you. Nothing else in this space but the warmth and the sun and that same baritone humming. And then it fades once more. Third time. But when that sensation comes, you can start to feel a weight. You're not quite sure about the sensation. This is the first time you felt it. Is it the weight of your own body? Is it something pressing down on you? You're not quite sure. But as your perspective shifts from this glowing orb of light in the sky and this constant humming, you hear a voice. Welcome, Arlie.
Am I able to speak?
What would you like to say?
Hello? Who are you? Who am I?
All you see really is this light, but you get a sensation of that warm feeling running through your self, whatever that self is. You're not quite sure what that is yet. And you hear a deep, rich laughter. I'm your father, Arlie. Pleasure to meet you.
I think Arlie knows who that is well enough for the warmth to be an emotion rather than just a feeling. She just smiles.
The next time you awake, it is a riot of color, of shapes, of sounds. No longer is there the warmth and the single bright light. It is every color imaginable. It is as if the world has come crashing in on you. The sounds of clattering noises, some sort of gears or machinery grinding, footsteps, everything just seems so loud and overwhelming. There's a scent of something burning, perhaps some chemicals, also a strange mustiness there as you realize you're breathing, or seems like breathing to you, or you smell something in the air, and it's the passage of this air through your sensory receptors that you can tell everything is just so much right now. And you feel a presence beside you and a hand, a warmth again that you feel on your shoulder. Steady now, girl.
I turn to him. He's the one thing I know. He's my father. So I turn to look at him. Do I recognize him? Is he standing over? Where is he?
You find yourself lying on some surface. You're not quite sure. And as the shapes and the colors and the sounds all sort of coalesce and start to make sense to you, you realize you're in a room cluttered with all sorts of tools and mechanisms and chemicals and glass vials filled with some strange liquids. But all your focus now turns to the face hovering over you, a warm smile on his face. But the face itself is odd. Not maybe what you were expecting. It is reddish in hue. Long strands of fur or hair kind of form as a beard. and you can distinctly see two horns emerge from his forehead. And as he smiles, his teeth are jagged rows of canines. Arlie, you're awake.
I'm awake. Are you my father? You sound like my father, but
Yes.
look how you don't look like my father.
Can you make your first roll here? An instinct check for me,
Ooh.
please.
So that is a 13 with hope.
Brief moment, the smile vanishes, and you can see this is all new to you. So you're not quite sure what passed, but the smile just fades for a brief moment, and perhaps that warmth that you initially felt turns cold suddenly. Just for the briefest moment. You know that your words have affected him. And he retreats a little, says, I'm so sorry, Arlie. I didn't mean to startle you.
Don't be sad. Why are you sad?
Turns away, and you can see as he does so, he's kind of hunched over. And as you sit up to get a better view of him, you can feel again your body for the first time, the weight of it, the motion of your arms, your torso. And there is a dusty, cracked mirror opposite from where you sit up. Can you describe to me what Arlie sees?
Arlie looks at herself in the mirror and she sees what looks almost like a young girl. Older teenager, reddish brown, wavy hair kind of to her shoulders. And she's dressed in a simple blue tunic, um, pale skin, uh, and almost like a porcelain doll, kind of pink cheeks, pink lips. Um, it's as if it was a porcelain doll that looks more human than you would expect. Um, and she kind of lifts her hand and waves, mm, making sure it's actually her in the mirror. And, uh, can she see Eli? Like, can she see his face in the mirror?
At the side, his side profile, you could
Just his
see
side profile.
as he's kind of working with some tools on a workbench beside you, and as you from this vantage point, you can clearly see he's covered in fur, and fur. Although the fur around his face is reddish in hue, a lot of the fur, like along the back and almost forming his mane, is grayish. And you can tell by the way he moves, by the coloration of his fur, that he's advanced in years.
I think looking at herself in the mirror and recognizing herself in the mirror triggers memories implanted in her. So she sort of has a flash of who Arlie, who Ariana Louise, the daughter, was. A young girl playing with her father outside, music recital, first day of school, just flashes of memory that have been implanted to her, but almost like still frames, like someone used pictures to implant them there.
As you get up and start to articulate your joints, your arms, and you look at your hand, he notices, he catches the movement out of the corner of his eye in the mirror, and he turns around quickly and says, "Oh!" And he reaches to grab your hand. Arlie, are you okay? Uh, you can move.
Yes, I can move.
Oh,
Am I not supposed to move?
no. Yeah, I wasn't expecting this. Please come. And he takes your other hand, swivels you around on the bed, so you're kind of your feet are hanging off the edge, and he's looking you up and down, and you can feel his hands warm to your touch, holding yours. So beautiful. Perfect.
it sort of triggers in her an automatic response, right? As if she's heard those words before and she knows how to respond. Oh, Dad, you have to say that. You always have to say that. You're my dad. But she doesn't quite say it consciously. Like a programmed response is what I'd call it.
Make another instinct check for me, please.
Sure. Ooh, 13. Oh, 15, I'm sorry, but with fear.
You notice a clear look of surprise on his face as he releases that grasp that he has on your hands for a brief moment, takes a step back, and his eyes go wide for a moment. And as he steps back, you notice a picture hanging on the wall behind him. It's you, but it's not you. And you can see that he kind of looks over his shoulder and quickly glances at the picture, but realizes you're sitting in front of him still. And he quickly turns back and he says, "Of course. Of course." And then he grabs the sides of your face with his hands gently and says, "You remember me?"
Yes, you don't look like you, but you sound like you. I know you. I know you.
And then he pulls you into an embrace. And you can hear him weeping.
Okay. Close. Again, almost like instinct, but also it's comforting. You know, Arlie's never been hugged before, so it's a new sensation. But she's been hugged 100 times before. But she's not sure when or where or how. 100 flashes of hugs flow through her mind, and yet it's a new sensation. She likes it.
Over the next few days, few weeks, as you become accustomed to your body, to your father, establishing that relationship or building a new one, you're not quite sure which it is. You get your bearings of his home, which is really just a couple of shacks tucked away in the far corner of a cave system. The air back here is stale, it's musty. You can hear the sounds of an underground stream gurgling past not too far away. And Eli, the one thing that he has asked you to do as you learn about yourself and your surroundings is not to wander very far, to stay within sight of his home. It's very dangerous, Arlie. People.
Dangerous. Okay.
There are others out there who would seek to harm you. And it is very, very important that we stay secret here. Do you understand, Arlie?
I understand. But she really doesn't. I don't think. She'll say she understands. She'll do what he wants. But she is a teenage girl in her memory. So there's a little bit of curiosity, maybe, but a kind of curiosity that she never acts on. She thinks about it though. It's she will do Arlie will do what Eli says, what her father says. Kind of look a little further than she should.
Everything here is new to Arlie. Familiar but new. How to hold a cup, how to hold a fork, what the various tools are. He sometimes invites you into what he calls his laboratory. Again, this is where you were born. You can see the table where you first gained consciousness. You can see all the strange plates of ceramic, wooden tools and gears and little what looked to be like fibers made of pure light strung up against one wall. And amongst them, there are his notes. Reams and reams of notes and drawings and pictures. He has asked you not to look at those. But he doesn't actively like hide them from you. They're just kind of scattered. He just asks you not to look at them.
I think that Arlie, for the first little while, Arlie would listen, I think. But Arlie's very curious. She's made to be curious because the person she represents was curious. So I think eventually she might take a peek. She'd wait until she knew he wasn't at home, because she knows he doesn't want her to see. But she would want to know. She knows that he made her. She understands that. She'd want to know what it was.
Every few weeks or so, Eli would pack up a walking stick, a few sacks, and a backpack and tell you, I'm making my way into town, pick up some supplies and food for us.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to it. Do not wander. Shouldn't be more than a day, 2 at tops. You'll be okay here.
Okay, Father. I will stay near the house. Humans are dangerous. People are dangerous. We need to stay near the house.
Quick kiss on your forehead and see him shamble off down the tunnel. He picks up a lantern filled with like glowworms, and just a soft blue light kind of disappears off into the darkness. As you are left home alone, you make your way over to the laboratory and start making your way through papers, ancient books, drawings.
I think I would try not to overly, I'd look through, but try to like not overly disturb things, because I know that, you might notice it if I do that.
Make a knowledge check for me, please.
Mm-hmm. +0 for that.
Ooh, nice roll.
20 with fear.
Okay. His papers and his notes could have been written in a language you don't understand. For some odd reason, you are able to read. You're never taught how to read, but you just seem to understand it. But the designs, the intricacies of the patterns and mechanisms apparently used to construct you are just that next level of formulas that you don't understand, the terminology that just seems so bizarre to you. But one thing you see beneath, kind of tucked away beneath these schematics, is a sketchbook. And this book is a little different than everything else. It's more artistic in nature, and you can see in it just page after page after page, sketches of you, but not you.
I think the more that Arlie sees that, the less she feels like the person she's supposed to be representing. That makes sense. Like, there's a little bit of a disconnect between who she feels she is and who she's told she is. So seeing these sketches of Eli's daughter, and she Eli's daughter? Yeah, but that's not her. It makes her sad. Like something that was lost, and you can't ever get it back.
Eli uses candles predominantly to light up the space. And I'm going to take that fear point that you rolled with and invoke it here. A rat appears, scampers across the table, throwing papers everywhere as it hunts for food and it tries to escape your presence. and in its rush to try and find shelter, knocks over one of the tallow candles, and the papers catch fire.
How fire? How do we turn fire off? Um, what's around? Is there water, or is there a blanket, or is there something she can use to turn?
There is no blanket in here, but you know that there is a stream nearby, and you're often asked to fetch water from it. So there is a bucket not too far away.
Okay. I'm gonna run for it. Run for the bucket. Run to the stream. If I know there's any water in the house, I might go for that first.
There's a barrel nearby. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have you roll an agility check here.
It's with hope, but it's only a 15.
Okay. You manage to rush outside with a bucket, scoop up some water from it, rush back. The fire is kind of spread across this table. A number of items are burning now.
Oh boy, and I'll just like throw it on. Is there any of it that's salvageable? Like Arlie might try to grab and like separate things that are not burning to get them out of there.
Okay. You throw the water onto the fire in the hopes that it'll douse it. It does, in fact, stop the fire from spreading. However, many of his notes have now been destroyed, either burned, singed, or now soaked in the ink, just kind of running off of it.
Panic. Just a little bit of, oh my god. He told me not to touch this. He told me not to look at his notes. They're destroyed. I don't think there's anything she can do to fix it at this point.
See that same rat that caused all this mayhem, just kind of sitting off in one corner, looking at you, sitting on his hind feet, just going.
I've seen one before.
No, this is the first time you've seen it.
First time. I've seen anything living before.
No.
Arlie doesn't know what this is. She's seen pictures maybe of some animals. She recognizes it as an animal of some sort.
There is a memory somewhere back
There's
there.
a memory somewhere there, but she doesn't, I don't think she quite, if I see a rat, my instinctive reaction is there's a rat in the house. We got to get it out. It's a bad thing. I think her reaction is devoid of that, prejudice almost of rats are bad. So I think that she would try to approach, maybe, maybe even a worry that are you hurt? Did you burn yourself?
As you approach and try to communicate with this small creature, it just gives you a loud squeak and scampers out the door, and see it disappearing off in the darkness.
Can I follow it in the darkness, like out the door and out the house?
Want to follow it? All right.
Yeah.
You grab one of the glowworm lanterns and chase after it. Go ahead and make an instinct.
10 with fear.
Okay. You
Great.
chase it. You can see its shadow flitting from here and there, as just at the edge of the light of this lantern, which only casts a very dim glow, not meant to really illuminate the entire space. It's just helped you make sure you don't trip over a little rock in front of you. You chase it, so consumed by the fact that this is a creature that you've never seen before, until you lose it. And when you realize, you scan the tunnels around you, the ground, anywhere, no sign of it. Also, no sign of your home.
Do I recognize anything around me? I wouldn't. I haven't been anywhere other than the home.
You're lost.
I think people are dangerous. Stay away from people. No, people are dangerous. Stay away from people. I'd hide. I think I'd hide. Try to make sure that I'm not seen. Would be my first instinct as I before I even try to figure out where I am, where to go, it's little kid style, kind of hiding in a corner.
Go ahead and make a finesse check.
So 16 with hope. Yes, just barely, but with hope.
You realize where you are. There's really nowhere to hide. You can like just plop down here if you like, and just kind of hunker down, or you can look for a place to hide. Which is your preference?
I think I'd look for shadowy corner somewhere, if behind something. It's. I think she'd want to. She's only looking to hide until she figures out what to do. It's what we are. Our reaction is get away from people, and then on my way home. How am I going to get home?
Go ahead and make instinct check for me, please. Making you roll a lot of dice today.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all good. We like rolling. It's 13, but with fear.
As you scan the area for a good place just to hide for a moment till you can gather your thoughts, you catch the scent of something, an unfamiliar smell. It's odd. It's not anything like you've smelled before. It's nothing. It smells clean.
Clean?
Which is odd because down here in this cave system, as far down as you are, everything just feels suffocating, almost very musty, very damp. But this, it's just like a gust of fresh air.
That be where the rat went? So Arlie has a choice. The animal that she saw, it might have gone to the clean smelling air. But she knows that her home doesn't smell anything like that. So it's probably in the opposite direction of where this thing she's been chasing, she imagines, has gone. I think she'd go check it out, I think, carefully, slowly, because now she knows that she's away from home, but at this point, she's burned the lab. She got out of the hut and she's lost. I was gonna be upset anyway. She might as well try.
Dig yourself deeper from this point, right?
Mm.
All right. So you follow the scent of this.
All the buttons today.
The scent of the strange, fresh air, and as you make your way towards it, it's stronger. It's almost, you can feel the movement of air across your skin, like as a draft starts to form. You turn a corner, and you're almost blinded by what you see. There is a shaft, a thin shaft of golden light emerging from a crack high up above you. You can see dust motes swimming in this light. And it's from there that you smell this raw, this scent that almost feels alive. And from here, you can even hear the faint sounds of birds. These fabled creatures that your father told you stories about.
I can't. It's too far up for me to reach, I assume, from the description.
It's probably at least 30, 40 feet up above you.
Into the light. Try to grab dust motes, play with it a little bit. It's brighter. It's brighter than the lanterns. Brighter than anything I've seen before. I think it's almost as bright as light seemed the first time she ever saw light. It's beautiful. But there's nothing else I can't get close to it. Can I look around to see if there's anything similar in the area?
Okay. When you walk up to it and try to grab the motes dancing in this beam of sunlight, you cast your gaze upward, And at first it's blinding. It just, you have to shield your eyes from it. It is so bright. But as you stand there and you get accustomed to it, you can see blue beyond it. This is the first time Arlie has ever seen open sky.
Sunlight and a blue sky. Like it's it's like an old memory, like a picture in a picture book. Almost it's brighter than she thought it would be. Even from the memories that she has, it's brighter than she thought it would be. Um, she's curious. I think she just wants to know what it is, and a little bit of frustration that it's so far and can't get to it, and temptation almost to come back and see it again.
Is this where Arlie hunkers down to hide and wait and figure out what to do next, or does she wander some more, do you think?
I think that Arlie would make an attempt to return.
All right. Go ahead and make a
She
knowledge.
a knowledge that I okay. +0, so hope we roll well.
Wow.
Oh, okay. But with beer.
All right. You try to retrace your footsteps using the light of the glowworm lantern. You scour the cave floors to see if you can retrace your footsteps through the dirt. And you do so for most of the way. And you feel you're getting closer to home. That smell of clean air, long gone by now. But down another tunnel, you hear something. Voices. But they're not your father's. It's a woman's voice talking to someone.
It's coming closer? Or can I just hear their voices echoing?
You can just hear their voices kind of echoing at this point.
People are dangerous. Stay away from people. I'm not anywhere I recognize yet, I assume. So
It seems a little bit more familiar to you. You're not that far from home.
I'll try to run for it. I know I'm nearby and I can hear them. My instinct would be get home. Home is safe. So run.
You run home. Can you make another finesse check for me, please?
That is a 20 with hope. I'm rolling very well again today.
Nice. So you managed to leave the voices behind you. You know your way through these caves and how to move through them, so you don't make that much noise, and you shelter your light so you're not visible, and you find yourself back at home. The smell of burnt and charred wood and paper still kind of lingers in the air here, kind of stagnant, because there's really not a lot of air circulation at this point. And it's not too long afterwards that your father returns home, laden with all sorts of goods and whatnot from the village. You can see him hunched over and burdened by the weight of it. But as he lays the sack down with a grunt, he is able to smell smoke. Arlie? Arlie, are you okay?
Yes, I'm okay.
What happened? Why do I smell like something? Smoke? What?
Hmm. So Arlie's not supposed to have touched the papers, but is she banned from the lab? My question here.
He prefers you not to go in there, but he doesn't stop you.
Yeah. So, okay. So Arlie is warring between instinct. Instinct is don't upset your father. Do as you're told. So the instinct is to tell him what she's done almost, but she doesn't want to tell him what she's done because that would upset him. Uh, so on the one hand, she wants to tell the truth, and on the other hand, she doesn't want to upset him. So I think we would hedge maybe a little bit. It might be um, uh, there was a rat. I was in the lab. There was a rat. It knocked over a candle, and some of your notes were burned. I tried to put it out, but
When you say there was a fire in the lab, he immediately rushes over to it. And you can hear him inside the lab just kind of moving things around. No, no. My notes.
Arlie feels so guilty. Because maybe if she hadn't been in there messing with him, the rat wouldn't have followed her in. And she knows he's upset. Yeah. She'll kind of, you know, stand right in front of the door, like hunched in on herself as she watches him see the aftermath of the fire.
He emerges eventually, holding the singed pages of some of the notes that he was able to recover. Finds a small wooden bench next to the entrance and kind of plops himself down. And he, for the first time to you know that he was advanced in years, but this is the first time you see him, and he looks old. And he is despondent at this point as he just looks at the sheaf of papers, half charred, half like blackened edges, and others are just soaking wet on his lap.
Arlie goes and sits next to him because usually when he's sad, he comes and sits next to her. So she does the same.
When you sit next to him, he just looks at you briefly. You can see like a tear kind of cut running down his red furry face, and just extends an arm, pulls you in over your shoulders and pulls you in for a hug and says, I'm glad you're safe, Arlie. This could have been so much worse. Thank you for your quick thinking. If it weren't for you, we might not have a home.
Anything, just she'll hide her face in his shoulder and just kind of feel the guilt of it. But seeing how upset he is, she's not going to make it worse.
Over the course of the first maybe couple of years of you living here, how does Arlie behave? Does she stay out of the lab now? Does she go visit that sunbeam?
I think it would take a very long time before Arlie ever messed with notes again, just because of what happened the last time that she did. And that leaving the house to go visit the sunbeam is almost a dream. Like she wants to go. She thinks of going, but every time she does, she remembers voices in the hallways and voice echoing around her. But eventually she tries it again.
Whenever you can, you make your way, you sneak off and find your way back to the sunbeam. It is now a very known and well-trodden path for you as you visit every opportunity you can. And every time it's stunning, the contrast between the light and the dark and the scent and the songbirds and some buzzing. You would sit there for hours sometimes, just listen to what sounds like trees rustling above. sometimes it would rain, and you can see the little rivulets of water kind of making their way down this crack and dripping onto the floor in front of you. But one day when you go, eager to see your sunbeam once more, to round the corner, and there are two people standing with you that were never there before. One is a young girl, another a boy about the same age. They're probably around 12, 13 years old.
I'm upset that they're there a little bit because, that's my little sunbeam. No one's ever been there before, so I need to be there now. And then once I realized that they're young, but they're people, and people are dangerous, people are bad. That's what she's been told over and over. People are dangerous, people are bad, stay away from people. I'm gonna hide and watch.
You make a finesse check.
15 with fear.
All right. So you managed to find an outcropping, a small rock that you can kind of tuck yourself behind as you watch these two. You're close enough that you can hear what they're saying. The young girl is saying, "I wonder what it's like out there. I don't know why Papa doesn't let us go. It looks so beautiful." And the boy says, "You'll get a spanking if you go out there. That's Daddy told us not to go, and we should get on home now. You know the demon lives around here." "Oh," the little girl responds, "that the demon's just stories. I don't believe in demons." And the young boy says, "Well, Pa says demon has a little girl he holds prisoner. Doesn't let her out. Who knows what evil things he does back here in these caves. We ought to go, Nancy. We should get on home." Yeah, can we stay just a little longer, please? As she just kind of stands up there, her eyes closed, her face fully in the sun.
Move table. This has been about how long since
Since
Arlie was born?
this is probably about 2 years.
2 years or so. That's I think demon is an unfamiliar word. Her. So she searches her memories. What's a demon? I don't think she would know.
You want to make a knowledge
Would
check?
she know?
See if you can scan your memory banks.
Let's see. Straight roll, no modifiers. 14 with fear.
All right. Maybe in some of the storybooks that your father has lying about, ones that he doesn't ever read from, maybe you found on your own, there are pictures of demons and devils and look remarkably like your father.
My father? Okay. So I'd know that they were referring to him, and I'd know that they're referring to me. But do I reveal myself to them is the question. Do I stay hidden? I don't think I'd go out. It's too well programmed in her mind not to reveal herself to people. Even if people she now knows are aware of her presence somewhat.
As you formulate your plan of what to do here, and this young girl is looking up, just basking in the sunlight, her brother just like grabs her around the waist and tickles her for a moment and says, "Damn, demon's gonna get you." And she yells out a squeal of half terror, half laughter, and they go scampering back off down the tunnel. Now, when you return to your sunbeam in the future, there's maybe a 10 to 20% chance that you'll see someone there now, because apparently those children have told other children, and even some adults are now making their way there. And you can feel wherever they're coming from, these people that your father's warned you about are coming closer, and they're encroaching on your space.
I think Arlie would ask him, Why do we have to stay away from people? I hear them sometimes far away. And they seem nice. So why are we afraid of people?
My dear girl, it is not so much that we should be afraid of them. It is more that they are afraid of us. And because of that fear, they're dangerous. I ask you to stay away from them because people, when they are frightened, become unpredictable and they sometimes lash out at things they do not understand. And you, my dear, is something they do not understand. And look at me, Arlie. I was not always like this, but this is what I am now, and this is something that they fear.
I look like them. Some of them. Why would they fear me?
This is not a discussion we're having, Arlie. It is too dangerous for you. You must not go. You must stay out of sight and hidden. It's for your own good. Please.
Okay, Father. Stay hidden. Stay safe. People are dangerous.
It is maybe a year later, and your father's off on another excursion to get some more supplies. You're home alone. You're keeping a good distance from the lab these days, I think.
For a little bit. And then we're going to start maybe peeking in there.
Can you make an instinct check for me, please?
Instinct is the one we like to roll because I hope that's 2. 15 with hope.
You're down by the river gathering water. It's one of the chores that you're responsible for. And it's not until it's too late that you notice another presence. You can feel them before you actually see them. There's somebody approaching you. And when you turn, you see the young girl, now a year older. You recognize her from standing in the sunbeam, standing, staring at you, wide-eyed, mouth kind of half open. Are you? And then she just turns and starts running.
Run into the house. I want to run after her, but she looked scared, and scared people lash out. So I'm going to hide in the house.
You hide in the house for what seems like an eternity, waiting for your father to come home. Soon you hear footsteps coming up the tunnel towards you and the light, but it's not. You quickly realize it is not your father because there are too many footsteps, too many voices. You hear a young girl's voice saying, "She's this way. And you peer out through a window and you can see approaching the home what look to be about 20 people. Now, some of them holding lanterns, some of them holding clubs, long sticks, anything they could find to act as an improvised weapon. And they approach the home. And you can see one larger man just kind of push the young girl behind her. All right, Nancy. Thanks. And he steps forward. Hello. Is there anyone in there?
I would imagine that Eli and Arlie have a plan for this. If it ever happens, the lab is not supposed to be there, right? Because technology is forbidden in the area where they are. So Arlie knows that if people come to the house, she is to hide in the lab and close the door behind her. Doors the lab is hidden, so close the door behind her and pretend she's not there. That's what she's gonna do. Go to the lab, close the door behind you, pretend you're not there. Oh boy, 11 with fear. Of all times to roll poorly.
So you make your way through the back door to get to the lab. And in your rush to get there, perhaps, and you can feel your heart. If you had a heart, like in your throat, it's pounding. The door slams behind you. Make your way to the lab. And you hear the voice out front saying, "Hello? Is anyone there?"
Lock the door.
You hear a woman's voice saying, "Arlie? Arlie, is that you?" And then a man says, "What do you mean, Arlie? Arlie died years ago. How could it be her?" "Oh, I swear, I swear I saw her." And you can hear the man says, "Follow me." And you hear footsteps tromping up towards the home.
Don't move.
All right.
A muscle. Well, I don't move a gear.
You hear what sounds to be a primal roar coming from somewhere down the hall, down the tunnel. You hear someone scream, and then you hear your father's voice. You've never heard him speak so loudly and with so much authority. "Get away from my house." And by this time, you can see they're right at your front door, these individuals trying to get in, peering through the windows and whatnot. And then you see your father emerge to the crowd. They kind of part, give him a wide berth for him to come through.
Peeking through the door frame.
And he steps forward. He's dropped all his sacks and bags and whatnot. He still has his walking stick, and he's brandishing it now in front of him. A lantern in one hand, a stick in the other, and says, "Get away from my home." And the lead man, the villagers that have approached your home, says, "Now, Eli, we know that you're keeping a young girl in there. We just want to make sure she's fine. There's been stories. Just want to make sure she's okay." "I don't know what you mean. There's no girl." And he says, "Get away from my home." And you hear the woman's voice say, "Arlie? Is Arlie alive?" And you hear your father speak with such venom and presses the "is no longer with us." See the corner of your eye, the young girl, the 13-year-old girl, Nancy, now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I saw her by the stream over there. And you see a couple people make their way to the stream, and your father saying, "No, get away from my home, please. I don't want any trouble from you. Just leave us alone." You see a younger man push his way forward. "Out of the way, demon." And just give your father a hard shove. And your father falls to the ground.
I know I'm the cause of trouble. People who are afraid are dangerous, and I must not be seen. But they hurt him. I'm supposed to leave the lab. I've been told over and over that I have to hide. Arlie wouldn't come out. She'd wait to see, a shove hurts his feelings, but doesn't necessarily hurt him. Makes sense.
You see your father getting to his feet, and the lead man, that just kind of opened the door to your home. And he would step inside with a few others. You see a couple of other younger men standing over your father as he slowly gets to his feet, but they're making sure that he doesn't go in after them.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, the young man says, "Demon, we're going to find that girl. We're going to bring her back to where she belongs. What you're doing back here, this ain't holy, this ain't right. You're going to save that young girl."
Arlie can hear them, she's slightly going to back away from the door. Because she's been peeking through a little bit the door to see what's going on. But if they're in the house now, I think she would want to go as far away from them as she can. They're nothing like the two little kids playing by her sunbeam. They seem angry. And in her memory, angry people are nice.
You hear a voice as you retreat back into the far corner of the lab saying, "Hey, there's another building back here. Go check it out." And then you hear your father, "No!" You hear a scuffle, footsteps, yells. You sound some kind of struggles. "Arlie, hide!" And there is more sounds of people fighting, struggling. You hear footsteps. There's a lock on this lab door that you can close the way it's locked, and you hear like a loud bang, bang, bang as someone's trying to knock this door in.
Knowing that they know something's back there, right? I want to look around to see if there's anything to maybe arm myself with, or I'm gonna look around to see if there's anything I can arm myself with.
Yeah, there's a lot of sorts of weird instruments in here, like small knives, even like mortar and pestle, something heavy that you can use as a club if you like. And the scuffle seems to be approaching, getting closer to you as you pick up a small knife in one hand, maybe a little pestle in the other. And as the door crashes open, you can see your father tumble into the room. He looks like he has been hit several times. You can see the welt starting to form on his face. You see some angry looking individuals, mainly the younger men, standing and framing the door behind him. And your father just looks up at you. He gestures to a small satchel hanging on a hook nearby you. "Run."
No, he's hurt. I think I'm going to. I have a knife. I have my heavy pestle. I think I might try to stand in front of him and just say, "No, no, don't hurt him, please. Please don't hurt him."
See the crowd just back away for a moment as they see you for the first time. And the woman, "Arlie?
Arlie, who are you?"
Another man said, That's impossible. I saw her. I buried her." And another voice behind him, "Abomination." Another one said, "She ain't right. Demon spawn." And you hear angry voices begin to rise from the crowd. And your father just looks up at you, imploring, "Run. Take the satchel. Run." You also notice at this point in time the rat sitting at the back of the lab, kind of squeaking at you.
I'm going to start backing toward the satchel, looking at them, kind of still trying to keep their attention on me, because it seems like now that they're doing that, they're not hurting him anymore. As I back away to the satchel, and in my mind, I remember the rat running away, squeezing through the cracks and out into the darkness, and wishing that I could do that. Back up. Satchel's somewhere behind me, I assume, from the description. So I'm doing as I'm told. I'm going to grab the satchel and I'm going to run.
I'm going to roll a die here. Can you roll an agility check for me, please?
Okay. 14 with fear.
14 with fear. All right, so you look back over your right shoulder at the satchel, and as you do so, feel a hard blow across your left cheek as someone has thrown a rock at you and screamed, "Abomination!" You hear a loud crack as it makes contact with you. Your father says, "No!"
I look at him and I know that he's told me to run and they're angry at me. So maybe if I leave they won't be angry anymore at him. So I grab the satchel and I put it over my shoulder as I back into the corner of a room, knowing that there's no other door other than the one I'm facing with all the people between me and the exit. And my only way out is, I don't know, a window in the back of the room or the side of the room.
Or the rats squeak at you. And your father's trying to get to his feet as he tries to shield you from any further stones coming your way. You can see him, although he is old, he still has quite a large frame when he wants to stand up to his full height. And he just locks the door, and you can see people maybe trying to push past him, screaming, yelling, angry. And just run. Arlie.
I'm staring at the rat, thinking how easy it was for that rat to escape, how fast it ran, how quickly it disappeared into the darkness, and how much I want to be like it in this moment. And my skin, the porcelain that is my skin, ripples and changes and morphs. It's been made to be pliable so that Arlie looks human. But here it's a full transformation, shrinking down into the size of a rat. But not quite a rat. It still has that distinct, like clay-ish look to it that would have been the basis for Arlie's form. She shrinks into a tiny rat.
You complete your transformation, mark your stress. The rat ahead of you just gives you a squeak as if to say, "Follow me." And you start scampering away. As you follow, you hear your father's final words to you over the din of the angry mob. "Find the world that I could not give you." And as the sound of yells and scuffles and anger and disbelief as you seemingly just disappeared echo through the tunnels behind you, find yourself scurrying through dark shadows and corners from a very different perspective now than what you've known so far. It's almost like a whole new world to you. Things seem so huge now that you move like a shadow through the cracks and crevices lining the tunnel walls, and you can kind of skirt around the angry mob as you can see them gathering in front of your home. And you see Nancy, the young girl who found you, kind of glance over quickly at two rats scurrying down the tunnel. You flee your home for what seems much longer than it normally takes, but you reach the sunbeam, and the rat starts scampering up the wall, finding little cracks and footholds to make his way up.
I follow it. My father's words echoing in my ears. Just see the world.
You follow the rat up, closer and closer to this crack that seemed so far, so out of reach for the years that you have known about it. Now, mere inches away, and you can feel the warmth of the sun hit your furry little face. And you can smell that rich air Now, this much closer, you can smell the earth, the scent of flowers, and it is intoxicating. The rat scampers through this hole without pausing.
Everything she knows is in those tunnels. Her father is in those tunnels. And she's been told that she has to hide from people, hide from the world. So, what is she doing? But her father's words echo in her ears to go see the world. So she steps out into the sun, in the bright sky, and for the first time ever, I think, Arlie has a heartbeat. So now that she's no longer running through the tunnels, as she's starting to calm down, ready to exit, new sensation. She can hear her heart in her ears. Actually need to breathe.
You emerge from the darkness into bright, almost blinding daylight. And it is a new world filled with greenery, filled with life, filled with fauna and flora. Even your distant memories have trouble recalling. It is alien to you. And just as the moment when you first were born, when you opened your eyes for the first time, that madness of colors and sounds rushing around at you, there's a brief moment where you get that sensation once more as you try to orient yourself in this new above surface. But after you gain your senses, scamper off. Now tell me, what does Arlie do to adapt to this new world? What does she do?
The first few days, weeks, maybe a little bit of a blur. I think new sights, new sounds, animals she's never seen before, flora that she's never encountered in her life, even in a storybook, even in a textbook, everywhere. There's nothing in her memories that looks like this. So it takes her a long time to kind of adapt to being in a place like that. But eventually, I think starts to look to other animals other than rats. So maybe she tries changing into some sort of deer or some sort of bird, or she might attempt look to different animals to see what they do and try to find a new place to belong, even though she always ends up reverting to her own self.
It's how does it feel for Arlie when she takes the form of these other creatures?
She feels and alive. Uh, a lot of Arlie's thoughts are instinctive responses to things that she's been told. And I think maybe as an animal, there's a little bit of freedom, just that gut instinct of, run, eat, hide, climb, prey, whatever animal she happens to be at that point in time. And it dulls a little bit the sadness, the loneliness, and the fear of being completely alone and not knowing if or when she's ever going to be able to go home again.
Over the first few weeks, as you become accustomed to this new world and these new sensations, you find that sometimes, perhaps in the evenings, you remember the memory of your father, the memory of those angry people, and you recall the satchel that your father had instructed. And when you grabbed it, it felt heavy. There was something substantial inside of it. And when you have a moment and open it, there are a number of things in there. There's a change of clothes. There is a small gold bar. There's a journal. And there is a letter.
I think I'd start with the letter just to see if it's addressed to me. You obviously wanted to tell me something.
Dearest Arlie, I know I could come across as an overprotective father, sheltering you from the world's dangers and the fear and the horrors of this world. But I know there will come a day when you will be on your own and I will no longer be here to protect you. And if you are reading this letter, then that day has come. I can no longer keep you imprisoned beneath these stones. And what you are, how you are made, why you exist is so much more than can be confined to our little corner of these caves. Enclosed with this letter, you'll find a gold bar. This should be more than enough for you to get by with the humankind and the folks that still live around. Be careful with it. You will also find enclosed a change of clothing. I'm sorry I'm not a weaver or tailor. Thankfully, you do not grow or change. So I hope that these clothes will at least last you until you find a new family and friends. And finally, this journal. You are unique, as far as I know, Arlie. There's so much I should have told you, and I was too afraid or unable to tell you myself. But within the pages of the journal, you'll find many of the answers that you might be asking yourself now. And for those questions that you may have that I am unable to answer for you, there is one other, a colleague of mine, who may be able to answer them for you. Key to what makes you so unique. There is no one in this world like you, Arlie. Of that I am sure. Find him. He goes by the moniker The Conductor, and he is in Skunktown. I wish you a full and happy life, Arlie. And thank you for bringing so much joy to mine. With love, your father, Eli.
Arlie can't cry, but she remembers crying. So I think just tearless sobs, because so much of that letter was him letting go of her. Um, in a way that she never would have expected. I think Arlie in Arlie's mind, she would be with him always. Now he's told her to go find the world and go discover the key to who she is. And she just feels so alone. For real. There's no chance of her returning home. There's no point to her returning home when he's told her to go and do this. So she just feels lonely. And she's going to do as he asked. Because her father has given her life. He's given her so much that she would absolutely fulfill his final request to her. So go to Skunktown, wherever that is, find the conductor. So she knows she can't do it alone. So I think she might start, for the first time ever, to look for people.
So, Arlie, you wander the wilderness for quite some time, looking for any signs of civilizations, any sort of community, people you might be able to ask for help from. The world up here seems wild. There seem to be remnants of towns, perhaps a civilization now lying in ruins all about you. Ancient buildings and towers and strange monstrosities of bent, rusted metal of some sort. It's kind of toppled over and now looking almost like broken trees and rotting. It just seems now to be retaken by nature, reclaimed by nature. You make your way through the mountains, traveling north and east, whether consciously or just kind of following your instinct, till you find yourself on what used to be a highway, but now it's just cracked and disintegrated almost into like blackish, tarry road like surface. It's You follow this north for some time until you come across what seems to be a small camp on the side of the road. You hear their voices and you can smell cooking food. How would you like to approach this camp?
I think I am going to observe them first. So I would like to only go as close as I can see and kind of hear. To see if they're angry or fearful before I get in close to them, any closer.
You stay out of sight, keeping your distance well away, just so you can kind of peer in who is in this camp. Do they look angry? Do they look dangerous?
Mm-hmm.
And it is a camp made of roughly a dozen individuals. They seem to be circled around a fire. You see tents kind of laid out in this circular fashion around the fire. And you see these donkeys tied up to trees around it, laden with parcels and boxes and sacks. It looks to you like it's some sort of caravan heading north from your observations.
Families or merchant or...
Definitely not families. These all seem to be adults, and you do see at least a couple of them are pretty well armed. Not all are human.
Okay. They're armed, but they're also the first people I've seen, and I definitely need help. So I'm going to maybe approach. I'm not going to. Arlie won't walk to the middle of camp. She might approach a single person in the outskirts. Kind of walk up to them and see how they react. Like reveal herself to them and see their reaction.
You walk north along this road to the edge of the camp. In plain sight, you're not hiding anymore.
I'm not hiding, but I'm also not. I'm not stealthing, but I'm not openly like making noise and walking in. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you have anything in your hands?
I don't know. I only have I only have the satchel with me at this point.
What are your clothes like at this point? Like, what would your extra set of clothing that your father would have given you?
So I think it would have looked similar to her original one, sort of like a blue tunic, dark pants. But when Arlie changed into it, she noticed that it was stiffer, almost like quilted fabric, and she's noticed that thorns don't scratch it when she passes by as much. There's some sort of protective element to it. And she has boots on her feet.
You noticed when you were going through the clothing and trying it on for the first time that it was not new. That it looks like it's been around for a while. It's been pre-loved and it has been repaired in a number of cases. There's been like patches sewn onto the elbows, little tears that have been stitched up. And you realize at that point that this is a hand-me-down Arlie. So as you walk up to this camp, what is going through Arlie's mind right now? What is her state of mind?
She's conflicted because people are dangerous. Stay away from people, and it's almost hard, difficult for her to approach. Like something in her is pulling her back, but at the same time, she's so desperately alone and has no idea where she is or where she's supposed to be going. And she's a little bit curious because she's never seen these kind of people just living in the open before. But it is almost like an internal struggle to allow to make herself approach the camp. She wonders why it's that difficult. Just a little.
As you approach this camp with a little bit of trepidation, the first person to notice you is a stocky woman, maybe about 4 feet high, thick woman though, like she's well built. She's one of the ones that are armed. And she just catches you out of the corner of her eye and pulls out what looks to be like a large mace hanging by her waist, but instead of like a metal head, it's just like a big ball of what looks to be stone. Whoa, now girly, where do you think you'll be going now?
Wait, I won't hurt you. I need help, please. There's please don't be afraid of me.
You alone now, girl. Kind of looks back at the camp. Nobody else has really noticed you, and she kind of walks out towards you, still holding a mace in her hand, just kind of like bouncing it in her other palm. She's looking around. She's quite suspicious. Now, what would a young girl like you be walking down the road all by her lonesome be doing way out here?
I'm trying to get to Skunk Town. Do you know where that is?
I do. That's a long ways from here, though, Missy.
Um, can you tell me? Are you going there?
I'm just going to Crystal City with this lot here. We can take you that far, and it's not safe in these parts traveling alone, especially one in your state.
What's Crystal City? Is that far from Skunk Town? My father never told me about that one. Well, he didn't really tell me about Skunk Town either, but you know.
Are in a sorry state. What have you gotten yourself into? Where are you from? But you don't know Crystal City.
They called it. Doesn't matter. I'm from far away.
He looks you up and down and says, "Can you hunt?"
Hunt? No.
How
I
are
don't
you
think so.
eating out here on your own, girl? You must be skin and bones.
Um, I manage. I I don't hunt.
Kind of peers at you and says, "What happened to your face there, girl? Uh, are you okay?"
Um, it's I had a very bad few weeks. It's nothing serious.
Got no plague or something going on there now, do you?
No, I'm not sick. It's just a hit. It'll go away. No, it won't go away, but it no, it's not serious. Please, will you take me with you?
A presence check for me, please.
Prison sucks. Okay.
Nice.
We had to, but with fear. There.
She looks you up and down and says, "Oh, it's a long road now, girl. You got to carry your own weight. Not going to be just taking on another mouth to feed along this way."
I promise I'll be helpful. I know how to carry water and I can make food over the fire if you want. Um, I can even wash laundry.
Be nice to get some good food and clean clothes. A lot back there, reeking quite a bit. All right. Now you be quiet now. Stay out of people's way. You'll be
I
all
know how to
right.
do that.
And she lowers the mace, kind of strings it, loops it into her belt once more, and says, "Come on, girl. You'll catch your death of cold out here. I'm by the fire."
She walks closer to the woman and follows her and feeling just a little bit afraid and just a little bit reluctant still.
Name's Lacey. And she holds out a massive hand towards you.
Do I know to shake her hand? My question. I would remember. Arlie would remember. She shakes her hand. My name's Arlie.
All right. She pauses. She kind of looks at you funny when you pause before you look as you look at her hand. Wondering, do I know? Should I be?
I know what to do.
Just,
It's a valid question because, I mean, why would you program someone to remember to shake another person's hand? Is
he kind of looks at you funny and goes, "You're not one, girl."
that a bad thing?
No. As long as you can feed us and keep us clean, I got no complaints. Come by the fire and we'll hear your story. You've been listening to The Breaking Symphony, featuring Natalia as Arlie and Andrew as the Game Master. This has been a Looking for Mom production with soundscapes from Monument Studios and Sirenscape. Thanks for listening.